So, what is a solutions-based real estate investor? I'm glad you asked. And look, this is something that maybe you said, Courtney, I've never heard of that before. You probably haven't. It's something I came up with. And it's really, let me tell you the story. Okay. Years ago, for many years now, I frequently attend real estate industry events where I'm one of the, first of all, one of the only investors in the room, but there's a lot of real estate attorneys, lenders, agents, insurance, home inspectors, you name it. And they often would have like a name tag. And for the longest time, I'd just go get the paper one or whatever, and like the little sticker one. And because I a lot of times they say, who are you with? Well, I mean, yes, I have company names, but that's not the brand I lead with. I'm with myself, right? Well, what do you do, right? And I felt real estate investor wasn't enough, right? So then I thought maybe I put a foreclosure specialist. Yeah, but then like at the same time, that doesn't solve everything. So ultimately, my goal with that is that I wanted it to kind of not pigeonhole me, but also not be so vague like real estate investor. So anyway, I remember having an aha moment at one point, and I said this: Courtney Fricky, solutions-based real estate investor. This is like one of those little magnetic ones. Fun fact, the key to these, buy like 10 of them because I lost the first one, and I'm sure it's connected to something, metal in my car. But the reason I came up with that is because I consider myself as a solutions-based investor. Number one, if there is not if there is not a problem, there's no reason for me to be there, right? So if the seller is aiming for retail, I- I'm not the best fit. And everyone should understand that I'm generally not, I shouldn't be their first choice. Because if it's between me and listing on the MLS with an agent for retail, that's no that shouldn't be the competition, right? So a huge part of this is going to be being very clear about who I am the right fit for and who I am not. All the time, I tell people, why should you have an investor like me who is looking for a discount, standing in front of you? Like what's going on? Okay? Super important, you guys. So as a solutions-based investor, I'm always looking for, sellers who have a problem. Now that problem may be, for example, I walked a house earlier today that they need to sell by February, no, March 6th. So that is literally within the next 2 weeks. As is leaving 90% of the stuff in the house. Got it. I can handle that. On the other hand, you've got folks who, again, if they're dabbling between, well, I might list it, I might fix it up myself, things like that. So what I like to do is I like to give people sometimes 2 to 3 options. Now, this is what I deal with. I will tell you this right now. Most investors who, for example, the quick cash offer folks, they're generally going to be like, yes, they're going to qualify. Am I the right fit, or not? But they're going to be like, hey, here's my offer. Take it or leave it. Now, for me, I'm generally going to say, hey, look, let me give you my offer. But I tell people all the time, you can take my offer. Here's my cash offer. I say, or, again, you can go this other route. Another phone call I had earlier today. A lender said, hey, Courtney, I have a client that's really in need. He's behind 7 payments and like he's, going down the path of foreclosure. Get on the phone with the client. I said, okay, I figure out his situation. What is he trying to accomplish? And I told him ultimately, I said, look, you've got a lot nicer house than what's a normal investment. It's really more of a nicer primary residence. And I said, okay, so like I still have some options for that, but he's trying to walk away with money because he needs to be able to move to go back and get a job. Well, then at that point, what I'm then suggesting is go like, here is a solution to stall the sale. Try that. Go list it with the agent. Let me help the agent. I know the agent, so tell her to call me. And hey, let's get you on the market. Someone's good. That's where people are going to pay the most. There, I do still have some options for him. Number one, I'm not the biggest taker for that property, but then number two, um, his goal is ultimately be able to walk away with, X amount of money on top of what he owes. Well, my strategy wouldn't give him that based on his numbers. We talked through all those numbers. So I wasn't really the best fit for him. And so, or what his goals are, right? And so I'm saying, hey, let me give you some advice. By being a solutions based investor, I'm not being greedy with what I know. I don't have to. Here's a core tenet. I don't have to be involved in the transaction to help. Like that's huge. So many people will be like, I just come in and one time I had a story. I was teaching I was on a panel in front of a group of real estate agents, and this toward the end, an agent stood up. She goes, "Let me just say something. I called Courtney. I had a close family member, a friend actually, um, that was facing foreclosure. I called two investors. Sorry, Courtney, and I didn't know this. She goes, I called two investors. I called someone, and then I called Courtney, and the other investor. They just said, and she like, when she explained the situation, they go, well, what's the least they'll take? But then she said, well, when I called Courtney, Courtney said, hey, well, what are they trying to accomplish? What's going on? Talk to me about it. And I helped them through the situation. By the way, I didn't buy that property, but I still actually helped her through the situation and helped them get what they needed. And she stood up there and she said, Courtney cares. So being a solutions based investor means number one, you don't always have to be a part of the solution to help. Number two, if they don't have a problem, there's no reason for you to be there. Again, I'm referring them. I'm literally turning business away. Don't sell to someone like me, right? And then the third factor of that is I am giving, you know, advice on a few different options. And a lot of times I'll say, you know, for example, here's my cash offer. Um, or hey, I can do, I can refer to this or that. And these might not even include doing business with me. And so I'm explaining some options. The reality here is, as a solutions based investor, really the idea there is I want to be able to hold my head high if I run into, anyone involved in the transaction at the grocery store later on. And I don't want my best client to be uninformed. Plenty of times I still do business with an informed client where they've explored their options, they've made an informed decision for their family, and they say, you know what, Courtney, we're still going to go with you. Literally, I had a woman that she was losing her house because she wasn't, it was free and clear apart from some liens and judgments, including she wasn't paying her property taxes. And that's how we got in touch with her because if she didn't pay her property taxes by a certain amount of time, they were going to be able to foreclose on the house. So she was going to lose it and lose a lot of the equity that she had. But she needed a certain amount of, judgments and liens taken care of, as well as her taxes. And so she had a twin sister, and she said, Courtney, I had been meeting with this seller, and she said, hey, can my twin sister meet us next time when you come to tell me what your offer is? I said, yes, ma'am. Absolutely. So I get there. By the way, this is a hoarder house. Okay. We sit on the front porch. I explained the options, and ultimately my offer was like 90,000 cash, but I said, "You know what? You have about 3 months until the foreclosure process, would start. So how about this? I think that if you clean the entire house out, if you potentially maybe can go move in with your sister or one of your friends, maybe you can list it for 130 as it sits, but like emptied and cleaned up. And even if you have to hire someone to clean the place out for you, hire some movers, something like that, maybe you have some options there." And I said, "But, my offer is at 90,000. Look, I know I am not the top dollar, and I know I'm not always the best fit. But oftentimes I'm really good for people last resort or convenience." And so, her sister was like, and friend that was actually there too, "Oh, that is ridiculous. She should not. Absolutely, that's just too low." And I said, "Look, like that's where I'm at." Because there was a lot of unknowns because I couldn't see a lot in the house. But I said, you know what? If you put in some work, this is what you could potentially reap. And she did have some discretionary income. So what I was talking about was like, even if you pay some people to come help you or, dumpsters, movers, whatever. Long story short, I did say, hey, but hey, this foreclosure is still happening unless you tackle that, right? But please don't call me at the last minute if you change your mind and want to come back and accept my offer. I thought I wasn't going to hear from her. I thought, she's going to go a different route. I thought, or she was going to call me at the last minute. Days later, she gives me a call back. Courtney, I'm ready to go with your offer. And I was like, what? I mean, like, that was a very staunch against my offer approach, but that was everyone around her, not her. I said, what made you change your mind? Everyone there that day was telling you to not go with this. What made you change your mind? She said, Courtney, my sister, my twin sister and friend refused to go in my house. So, as much as they wanted me to get more money for this, no one was willing to help me. So, I again revisited this concept of hiring people, hiring companies, like things like that. I said, like, is there anything like that you can do? No, Courtney, I don't want to handle with any of that. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, at a certain point here, like, you're like, if you're gonna put money in my hand, I'm gonna close it at a certain point, right? But I said, okay, then I can help you. And she was ready. So we signed a contract and we moved forward. She knew she had other options. She can go make more money, but she wanted the level of convenience that came because with my offer, we actually helped her move. Um, a lot of things along those lines. So, when it comes with that, keep in mind that not everyone wants top dollar. Some people are willing to trade top dollar for convenience. So keep that plenty of times in mind, but at the same time, I don't want them to um I want them to be informed of their options. Plenty of times I say, hey, I think you can go get more with an agent. And a lot of times I'll tell them, I think you can go get around X amount with an agent. Now, given that the market is tough, I'm like, hey, keep in mind, it might take longer to sell, things like that. So you shouldn't be for everyone. But at the same time, I like the people I do business with for it to be an informed decision. And so, what does it mean to be a solutions based investor? I'm out there solving problems. I'm not stingy with the information that I know. And I'm out there helping people make an informed decision for their families. And look, sometimes that means us doing business together. Sometimes that means me referring them to a third party. So that's what it means to me. It's something that I'm very proud to do business like this. I'm very proud of the way I do. I know not every investor does business this way. Some of them, they're like, Courtney, I don't want to get into all that. I just want to make the offer, get the house, and move on. That's fine. That's fine. Some other people are like, Courtney, um, at the end of the day, they're like, if I'm not involved with transaction, I'm moving along. That's fine. That's fine. My background was in the nonprofit missions sector. Oh, there's a level that I do a lot more giving than an average investor. That's part of my nature. But that's also the reason why a lot of people like to do business with me as well, because I treat people with dignity and I treat people, I lead with education. Now, at a certain point, I also know when to shut my mouth and close the deal. So you got to have a fine balance. All right, guys, that's today's video. One video a day for the first 100 days of 2025. Guys, we're deep into Mardi Gras right now, so these are fun. But see you guys tomorrow. Another day, another video. Thanks.